Here are the 7 levels of Pixar villains. Starting at the bottom in level 1 will be the trash villains. And the best example I can give is Chick Hicks from Cars. Everyone will agree with me that he is a garbage man. Chick Hicks has been racing his entire professional career, and the only piston cup he ever won was the one he stole by cheating. Like I said, trash. The king had decided to retire after the race. That race was supposed to be him ending his career on a high, but Chick said no. He decided to end this man's career on national television in an embarrassing way. During the race, Chick rammed into the king and sent him flying off the track. That was basically attempted murder. I don't even know how the king survived that. If it were real life and there was a driver in that car, I doubt he will survive it. That is the sort of move you will see from someone who has never won anything fairly in their entire life, and he still has the gall to call himself Thunder.
100% chance of Thunder! Gazooga!
I don't think I remember anybody else calling him Thunder. Chick really thinks he is the shit when everyone around him knows he just stinks. Well, I don't blame him. The name Thunder fits because thunder always comes after lightning, and McQueen is always on top.
What?
Another way to identify a trash villain is how easily they get cooked by the new guy. Lightning McQueen is in his rookie season and he still nearly beat Chick in his first piston cup. The only reason McQueen didn't even win was because he stopped just before the finish line to help the king. 2 decades of racing experience, and Chick got outdriven by someone who was just learning what cones are 12 weeks earlier. Chick's ending in Cars also tells you everything you need to know about villains like this. They get booed. Chick Hicks is the absolute flaw of the Pixar villain ranking. Level 2 is what I call the long con villain. And the king of this tier is Stinky Pete.
Why, the prodigal son has returned.
These kinds of villains will not get into the mud with you. From the start, they believe they are better than everyone, so their go-to strategy is manipulation. They are very patient and would wait till their plan works. But long con villains have a catch that makes them almost as useless as trash villains. Long con villains cannot finish the jobs themselves. It's either they hire a team to do their dirty job or they whine and confuse the protagonist and make them do the heavy lifting.
Good going, Woody. I thought they'd never leave.
For most of Toy Story 2, Stinky Pete seems genuine. He plays the role of a wise grandfather very well and gives Woody career advice. He talks about what loyalty means and the importance of legacy. You will not even know you were watching a villain when you listen to the way he talks.
Long time waiting for you.
He really plays the role of a support system to Woody well, but slowly and surely, he shows his true colors when he realizes that Woody won't fall for his manipulation anymore. By the time Stinky locks the event, so Buzz cannot rescue his friend, you realize you've been watching a master manipulator at work for an hour and a half. But here's the thing about long con villains. When the actual fighting starts, Stinky Pete is no threat. He is just a hand-painted ceramic with no joints, utterly useless in a real fight. At the end, he loses and gets handed off to a child who is skillful with permanent markers.
You'll like Amy. She's an artist.
Long con villains have to hide behind manipulation and fake kindness because they have no other shield. Level 3 villains do not need a disguise. They have something better, a title. I call those villains the corner office villains. A textbook example is Henry J. Waternoose.
The city is counting on you to collect those children's screams. Without Scream, we have no power.
In this tier is where you will find the CEOs and executives at the top of an institution. These kinds of villains do not have to threaten you with violence directly because they don't even have to. They already have a system in place that will do the acts of violence for them. They just sit behind their desk chilling while their goons do all the punching. Henry J. Waternoose runs Monster Incorporated. He is the CEO and the third generation of his family to sit on the throne. He is also 100% willing to kidnap human children as long as his company is profitable.
I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die, and I'll silence anyone who gets in my way!
The way scary Mr. Krabs speaks and carries himself will let you know he's no joke. Lower tier villains are performative. Waternoose is past all that. He owns the building. If he wants you hurt, he does it openly. He won't cuddle you with one arm and stab you with the other. Both will do the stabbing. So how do you defeat this kind of villains since they are so formidable? Well, you can't defeat them by punching them. What you do is expose them. You make everyone watch the CEO admit their crime out loud.
I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I spotted several big mistakes.
This is the only way to strip them of their armor. Let's move on to the next villain. The next level of villains are scary because of what was taken from them. I call them the wounded villains. The clearest example is Syndrome. In this level, the villains always have a sad backstory. They carry some kind of grievance against the world or a specific person. If not that these villains do some really heinous acts, you must start agreeing with them.
I was wrong to treat you that way.
If it was a film, this villain will be Killmonger. Many people agree with his logic, but don't agree with his methods. Buddy Pine, aka Syndrome, was a kid who genuinely loved Mr. Incredible. He taught himself enough engineering to invent flight gear so he could be like his idol. He then showed up to a real superhero emergency wanting to help, but Mr. Incredible publicly humiliated him. Buddy never heard the quote, "Never meet your heroes." Buddy grew up and used that humiliation as a fuel to build a multi-billion-dollar weapons company designed to kill superheroes. You know, the most uncomfortable thing about Syndrome is that he is technically correct about almost everything he says. Mr. Incredible was an arrogant and bad mentor. Even the other supers had become arrogant, so Syndrome was just putting a little belt to us to remind them that they are not. Another thing about this type of villain is that they lose almost because of cosmic forces. Pixar can't let them win because while they might have a good reason, the actions are so evil that they have to go one way or the other. That's why Syndrome gets killed by his own cape and not by the hands of Mr. Incredible. Almost every wounded villain meets a tragic, sad end one way or the other. The next villain is what I call the bargain villain. They break the rules of the game itself. Bargain villains do not need to be physically strong. They don't need a title. What they have is something very rare in Pixar: power over reality. They have the power to reshape the path, or should I say the destiny of the protagonist. Then they sit back and let the protagonist destroy themselves trying to navigate the new rules. Pixar usually avoids overt magic because I think they prefer science. But when they do magic, they do it well. The cleanest example is the witch from Brave. She presents herself as a sweet little woodcarver living in a cottage in the forest. She seems harmless, but she definitely isn't. When Merida walks into her cottage asking for a spell to help her deal with her mom's strictness, the witch gave her a cake. The teenager feeds the cake to her mom, and her mom becomes a bear. You know what's funny? The witch isn't even a villain in the traditional sense. She's not malicious, just forgetful.
Oh! What was that thing about the spell?
When you give someone a magical cake, you should also give them proper instruction on how to use it. And this is not the first time she's doing this either. Her previous customer was Model. The same kind of spell she sells to Merida is the same product she sold to the prince who later became the monster, terrorizing the entire kingdom. So in a sense, she's the cause of all the problems in the land. And after all that, she still kept her shop open and kept doing business. She never got punished. She's still out there in the woods ready to conjure another cake for the next desperate royal who walks through her door. These kinds of villains create the chaos and ghost before the consequences land. Let's move on to the next villain, the obsessed. These are the villains with a single goal that they have obsessed over for decades. The goal is their only priority in life. Sometimes they've been on their mission far longer than the protagonist has been alive, and that makes them very dangerous. Charles F. Mont is the best example of this category of villains. In the 1930s, he found the bones of a tropical bird in South America, but the scientific community claimed they were fake. He lost his reputation, and instead of coming home to face the embarrassment, he chose exile. He goes to live in the wilderness for 70 years, and by the time Carl and Charles cross paths, Mont has become completely consumed by his obsession. Pixar marketed Up as a sweet movie about an old widower trying to find his purpose after losing his wife. Halfway through though, the movie turns into a survival action thriller because Charles is basically a children's version of a Bond villain. Charles is a dangerous recluse who has spent his entire adult life convinced that the bird is the reason his life went wrong and wants his revenge. So he treats anyone who gets close to the bird as a personal enemy. Carl shows up by accident. He has no interest in the freaking bird. His only concern is keeping the little boy safe. That doesn't stop Mont from trying to murder him. In the obsessed mind, there are no neutral parties. You are either an obstacle or a tool. What I love about obsessed villains is that they force Pixar to animate actual action. In my opinion, Pixar is usually restrained when it comes to nail-biting action. They prefer emotional choreography over physical. But Mont vs. Carl on the airship deck was pretty cool. Every villain up to this point has a flaw, a weakness, but level 7 villain has none of that. The villain at the top of my list cannot be killed because it is the thing that kills everyone else in the end. The final villain is final death. You see, in Pixar, dying doesn't necessarily mean you cease to exist. For example, when you die in Coco, you just get relocated to the land of the dead with your personality and relationships intact. Dying isn't the end of the world of Coco. You're just changing your address. There is something much worse that a person can experience. When the last person who remembers you forgets about you, that is when you truly die your final death. The moment your name stops being said out loud, you fade away permanently. There is no villain that can top this. How do you defeat something like death? It's impossible. Final death is a slow and patient inevitability. It could be 10 generations from now. Your name will fade away from the memories of everyone who ever knew or heard about you.
The moment she's gone from the living world,
you disappear from this one.
Even the most powerful man in Coco's world saw his statue and museum destroyed in the end. Eventually, he will fade from people's memories too. The final villain doesn't need to chase you. In the end, final death wins. The only thing you can do is delay it. So there you have it. We have come to the end of the video. Do you agree with my list? Also, which other categories of villains do you think can be added to this list? If you enjoyed this video, like, comment and subscribe. I will see you in my next video.